Hello, everybody. Welcome to Wine World TV, the best wine show anywhere. I'm your host, Mark Fusco. Now, before we get started, make sure you smash that like button and subscribe to the channel. Every like and subscription really helps build the channel. Even better, spread the word to your friends about the best wine show anywhere. I'm always amazed when I don't have the script in front of me doing that. So I had the pleasure of sitting down officially for an interview with Jessica Dupuy. She is an extraordinary writer and knows a lot about Texas wine, but knows a lot about wine in general. So I thought it'd be kind of cool to have this kind of series of interview the interviewers, or at least interview the media people. So we should have 2 more coming after this episode. Anyway, so Jessica, who are you and why did you decide to do all this kind of stuff?
Who am I?
Yeah.
Oh my gosh. Well, I feel like I need to bring my mom in here and where did I come from? Let's see. I am an Austin-based wine writer. I also cover spirits, travel, and food. They all kind of go together.
Yeah.
You know, I've been covering, I've been doing that, gosh, for over 15 years, almost 20. It's kind of crazy.
I feel like I was there at the beginning, honestly.
Yeah, you were. No, it's crazy. But started my background actually on the business side of magazines, and worked with Texas Monthly in advertising sales for a number of years. Before I went, totally switched and decided to go freelance, and started writing at first about food. And, early on, one of my editors at Texas Monthly, Patricia Sharp, who was the longtime food editor there, said, I hear there's a lot going on with Texas wine, but I honestly don't really do wine. That's not my thing. I have an encyclopedia in my brain of food, not wine. So she was like, would you mind seeing, go out there, report, see if there's something, if it's worth talking about. That was, like I said, almost 20 years ago. So it was actually a really cool time in Texas wine, because really it's where things were really getting going in terms of the modern Texas wine industry. So I started covering exclusively Texas wine for Texas Monthly for a number of years. But early on, I realized I like talking to people, and when I sit across the table with them and their wines seem really great, and I'm really more enjoying the conversation with them. And it became very clear to me that I wasn't quite sure how to put Texas wine in context with the rest of the world, right? I didn't know, is it good? I think it's good. Maybe it's not. I don't know. How do I know, But because I'd been covering food for so long, I had relationships with the sommeliers in Austin, all throughout Texas, and many of them encouraged me and helped me to do sommelier certifications. And so I started going to Texon.
Right,
That's actually where I got my level 1 and later level 2 in Austin. But all of that community was extremely helpful in giving me a crash course in how to blind taste wines from the world, how to understand what matters in the glass, what quality looks like. And so that is what really gave me my foundation for being able to talk about Texas wine in a broader sense. So I owe it to a lot of people for that.
Right, yeah, I think we all do.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But yeah, so after that, other things started happening. I started working with different publications, national, some international, and then writing not only about Texas wine, but about wines from all over. So I travel very regularly all over the world, write for different places, and just finished writing a book on Italian wine.
Yeah.
So I don't know if
how many books you have now?
This will be my 8th book. Yeah, most of them were food books, cookbooks, but I have done the wines of the Southwest through the Classic Wine Library, which is Académie du Vin. And then this new one is an Italian wine book that I co-authored with a master of wine who is Italian.
Cool.
Yeah.
So, to start the whole symposium thing, James Tidwell, effectively redid his closing keynote from last year and kind of did the keynote, opening keynote this year. And he absolutely gave some props and some praise to Jessica for the wines of the Southwest. And then Shelly, who you'll be seeing soon, and starting her podcast a few years ago. So you have a master sommelier who, okay, we all know each other, honestly, but we have a master sommelier who's like going, these are people that you need to pay attention to, that especially if they are focusing on Texas wine. In the context with yours, he was talking about how even since the 70s, we'd have these publications or magazines that would talk about Texas wine. And your book was one of the few that was focused, Southwest, but had a focus of Texas. And so he was including you with a lot of really prestigious people, and then also talking about the actual the classic library,
Classic wine library.
yeah, classic wine library being kind of a standard for anyone learning wine.
Yeah.
So I admit I haven't really read a lot of their books, but they're like on my list of things. Like when you want like the wines of Barolo, well, they kind of have a book about Barolo, okay? So if you really need to deep dive on something like that for an exam, right? Yeah. That's the type of book to get. While, yes, there's lots of resources out there. So, so I just wanted to mention that, you have a master somm, and he's just a badass dude. Whether he had the letters MS next to his name or CWE or all the other things he's got, he's just cool. Anyway,
he's a great guy.
So yeah, that definitely wanted to highlight, that you are definitely in a esteemed group of people.
Yeah.
Yeah. Just want to make that point.
No, yeah. Well, and I owe a lot to James. I mean, TechSomm really is what kind of lit the fuse for me in terms of, oh, this is something I can pursue, and it actually has legs that I can really go after, and so it became something where, I owe the beginning of my career in wine to Texas wine, and I'll always have like this loyalty to it for that reason. But it's given me such an opportunity, and what TechSomm did in terms of just the education that they bring to a single conference, in just a few days. Is really what kind of like inspired me to go keep pushing further, So James is awesome.
My experience at TechSomm, I'm sure that's where we met.
Yeah.
Is very similar in that I was going for my first. I got my intro there, and all I knew was there was an exam in Dallas. I didn't know there was this conference that followed it.
Oh, right. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
And then I found it was a conference. I was like, oh, that's really cool. I have kind of told the story a little bit. I used to not ever tell the story because it was very embarrassing. It's still embarrassing. But at the time, I was on probation. And it wasn't because I had gotten a DUI light in the state. And I've been very good. But it's a long time ago.
Yeah.
And so I had to get permission to not only leave the county, but then I explained that I'm going to a wine conference and I'm not going to drink anything.
Oh my gosh.
And they had to believe me.
Wow,
So, and I did that twice.
interesting.
My CSW had to go to Austin, so I had to get permission twice from the same PO. And they looked at me like, I'm like, I'm not going to drink. And I'll be honest, for the intro, I didn't know that they taught you that the deductive tasting.
Yes.
So at the time, I wasn't lying.
Okay. Yeah.
But when I got there, Guy Stout was there. I told Guy, hey, Guy, just don't worry about it. Just don't worry about the tasting part. Just do the sight and the smell and you're fine.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So, so for me, TechSomm was very much like that, the education part. And then I got into the volunteering and then all this great things like that. And then this symposium, I've been coming, I don't know, for quite a few years now. And while it's Texas wine industry focused and it's not necessarily people like you and I are here for that. It's not geared towards us per se. I get value out of it. Now, you are going to have a seminar.
Yes.
So kind of talk about, we might just transition to that.
Yeah.
What is your seminar going to be about? That's tomorrow, right?
Today.
Oh, it's today.
What
time is it? It's on my agenda. I just don't remember what time it is.
It's at 3 p.m. today.
Okay. That's right. You said get ready.
So it's changed. It was when we first kind of pinned it in, it was meant to be 100% about the Texas Vintners Cup, which is sponsored by the Texas Department of Agriculture,
Okay.
and then promoted through Texas Monthly. So they kind of host it and end up publishing the results, et cetera, in the October issue every year.
Okay.
So this is in the 5th year, and the goal was to kind of present, just to people like what we're seeing, what we're experiencing, what the patterns are, and I was going to have 2 of the master sommeliers that taste that evaluation with me here. Turns out both of them one of them had to be out of the country.
Oh, man.
And the other one had to be at a board meeting for the Court of Master Sommeliers. So
wine world
yeah,
problems.
I know.
Not even first world, just wine world problems.
It's so hard because, you try to set the schedule for this so far in advance, but you don't really know what's coming down the pipeline. So I don't hold it against them at all. Life happens.
Yes.
But also in the past couple of months, some different things have come up that I've either talked to different grape growers or winemakers in Texas, et cetera, and they've had these questions that I feel like are not just their own questions. I think they're questions that loom throughout the industry. And so I'm going to be addressing the Vintners Cup. We'll talk a little bit about that, but I'm also going to be talking about how we've started to receive more attention from critics. So getting scores on wine and what that looks like. And there seemed to be a lot of confusion about how that works. So I'm going to talk about that.
Okay.
And then also a question I get all the time, and we've heard it forever, is why are there not more Texas wines on restaurant lists?
That was part of James's
thing. And James and I talked before the symposium. I was like, you're probably going to say some things that I'm going to say, and that is okay. I'll just say I'm just copying James. So, but everybody's saying it in a different way a little bit, and I think that's important because it needs to be heard, right?
Yeah.
And it needs. I think these are things where I'll be talking to Chris Brundrett tomorrow for a different seminar, and one of the things we'll be talking about is just that we've been getting covered. We Texas Wine have been getting covered for over 20 years now. So we're no longer up and coming.
Right.
We're no longer emerging. It doesn't fit anymore. But what are we doing with that coverage to make it to the next level in terms of established?
Yeah.
And so why are we not being talked about in the way that Washington, Oregon, California, and even now New York are being talked about? And how do we get there?
Yeah. It's it's an uphill battle, I think, for a lot. Even me on the my day job, which we don't talk about who I work for. I forgot to say that before we start. But in my day job, like current life and past life in the restaurant side, it comes up occasionally. My customers or my guests will like, "Do you have Texas wine?" And you're like, "Yes." Is it any good? Well, the ones that I have are, but especially when I was at Morton's, past employers I can talk about.
Okay.
When I was at Morton's, I purposely brought in Texas wines, and I actually was bringing in wine from a winery, and the next vintage came out and it didn't say Texas. It didn't have a Texas appellation. I told my rep, I don't want it. And it's nothing. This is not a negative about the winery per se, but this was kind of a topic that came up today. Was if I'm trying to promote Texas wine, I want the wine to come from Texas, not that it's a Texas winery.
Yeah.
There's nothing wrong with it, but it went to the Texas part of my list.
Yeah.
And I'm not going to put a Burgundy that doesn't come from Burgundy, right? So
exactly.
that was the reasoning I gave. So he took the case, and all that. But so yeah, it's an uphill battle. And while I don't cover the Texas industry as much as say like you have or like Shelly and Jeff do, I do go out there and visit.
Yeah.
And last night we had the welcome reception.
Yeah.
And lots of Texas wines. There's a few non-Texas wines there that was a surprise, kind of. And I told quite a few of the people, I was like, this is a great way for me to get a snapshot of the smaller producers. Like I kind of skipped all the big producers or larger producers that I'm familiar with. I already know the qualities there.
Yeah.
Well, let's try some of the other ones. And just like anywhere else in the world, there were some really good ones. There was ones that are average, and there was nothing that was bad. Like nothing was poor winemaking. I did have a bottle that probably was just a bad bottle.
Right.
But nothing was poor winemaking.
Yeah.
Like nothing riddled with volatile acidity, which has happened quite a bit, back in the day here.
Yeah.
So, it's been an uphill battle, and like you said, we are there in the sense of we're getting recognition, or at least getting people noticing us. But how do you get us to where there's more recognition? And really, the challenge is getting the wine out to the people, whether it's to a restaurant wine list, a retail shelf, or even, like James said, out to England, because they want to try the wines in England.
Yeah. I mean, it's a conundrum. There's a lot of things that have to happen, and that's, I'm not a restaurant buyer, so I actually, for my presentation, I've invited a sommelier who does do that, to kind of come up at the end to kind of help answer questions, like kind of put him on the spot, which he doesn't mind, and be able to kind of just say, like, okay, and I'm going to ask him a couple of questions, like, what does a Texas winery need to be doing to be able to be considered for a wine list, et cetera, that sort of thing.
Yeah,
so,
I mean, I've had to deal with it. In my current job, we do have Texas wines. I don't always get to make the decision as to which wines show up.
Yeah.
But when I was in the restaurant side, I had total control over that.
Yeah.
And there are, whatever you're going to cover, there are absolutely some things that you want to ensure that if you're putting any wine on your list, that it meets a certain minimum standard. You're not just putting it on there just because you need to fill a hole or you're trying to be nice to someone. I mean, because at the end of the day, like my GM told me at Morton's, you can bring any wine in the world you want. You just have to sell it.
Yeah. If it doesn't move, then there's no point.
Yeah, exactly.
Exactly. Yeah, it's business at the end of the day. It can't be a romantic notion of wanting to believe in your local community. That's a great thing, but the community has to deliver, right? And
absolutely, yeah. And over the years, the quality of wine has absolutely increased here in Texas. So it's been nice to see that over the years.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, I mean, we'll be talking about that. It'll be good.
Cool.
Yeah.
All right, you want to switch back to some book stuff? What were some of your, I guess, challenges of doing all this type of stuff? Well, first of all, you went freelance, right?
Yeah.
And so that must have been a little scary.
It's tricky, like I said very briefly at the beginning, my background is in advertising sales.
Yeah.
My master's is in magazine publishing, so I kind of understand all pieces of how to get a magazine out the door.
Yeah.
And so because I'd been doing sales, I understood what that meant. And so when I decided to go into freelance, that's how I treated that job. Is now instead of selling advertising, I'm selling not myself, but what I can do. And had, to me, it's all about relationships. I had managed a lot of different relationships with editors and other writers, et cetera, over the years. And so, you just start to say, hey, I'd like an opportunity. Here's what I would like to try to do. And you just have to be willing to do it a lot and get a lot of no's until you get your yeses. And then all of a sudden, that ratio turns upside down, and eventually you're able to get more yeses. But I still get a ton of no's, and it's okay. To me, no is not really a no. It's okay. How's it different, or not yet, or I'll find someone who says yes. So, or maybe I need to change the story pitch a little bit until it's the right one. You know, so yeah. Yeah.
When I was twisting Jeff's arm along with Mike Batek, who he's on the list to interview too at some point. But I told Jeff, you can tell me no.
Yeah.
I tell this to wineries all the time when I pitch, coming out. You can tell me no.
Yeah.
It's not going to hurt my feelings.
Yeah.
Because there's going to be another winery or another person that I can get the content from.
Right. Exactly.
And it's not. You're not being snooty about it. I want the person to be comfortable sitting here on camera with lights on. Because some people are fine with audio doing podcasts, right? That's what I'm going to talk about Shelley with probably.
Yeah.
And some people are fine just you're going to write because you have all that time. You can really do your thoughts and all that. It's video. You can still compose your thoughts, but it's a little different.
It's a little more arresting for people.
Yeah.
I know what you mean. Yeah. I'm like, whatever.
Yeah, absolutely. So you had to go through a lot of no's with freelancing. Was there things that you were doing as far as whether it was an article or a book, was it just, I'm interested in this? or was there some feedback you were getting? Hey, or maybe that you were getting pitched. It would be great if you did an article or a book on this.
Yeah, I mean, I would say the wine thing was kind of that first like nudge, like in terms of Pat Sharp saying, hey, what do you think about covering Texas wine a little bit, seeing what's out there? And once I kind of realized that that was an opportunity, I'm like, okay, that's a foot in the door and I can run with it, And then it just became about, if I can master the material or really, really become authoritative on that material, then I can really take it into different directions as well.
Yeah.
So I don't know what, everyone's built differently. Everyone has different personality, but for me, I'm always thinking about what's not just next, but like two things next, and what can be valuable to people. Like, how can I bring value to whatever it is, whether it's a story I'm writing or a book, or like people that I'm working with for content development, things like that.
Okay.
I
don't go to that level, but basically wasn't what interests me.
Yeah.
and well, then sometimes I get
that helps.
I get the email,
Yes.
hey, these are the wines, these are the wines we want to do. Are you interested in these wines? And be like, yes or no.
Yeah.
I try to say yes most of the time.
Yeah.
Because it's free wine, but
no.
But I've also actually have not taken some free samples for quite a while. I've just been concentrating on other things. But yeah, sometimes it's kind of what is next, right?
Yeah.
And if I get pitched on something that these wines are available, I might look at that list and be like, that's not really
what you're looking
what
for.
I'm looking for,
Mm-hmm.
or I kind of feel like it's not interesting enough for me.
Mm-hmm.
Usually it's not anything about like the quality.
Mm-hmm.
It's just maybe I'm like, I've done Argentine wine for like 5 years straight. Can I do another country? I appreciate the freebies, but I need a break from that country.
Right.
And this is no shade against Argentina. Right?
Oh my gosh. Yeah. There's a lot of great stuff.
But sometimes, like when I went to Oregon, I was like, I have palate fatigue of Pinot and Chardonnay.
Mm-hmm.
Not my favorite two grapes, but Oregon makes some great stuff, and I enjoyed all of it. And Burgundy made some great stuff, and I enjoyed all of it. But man, can I get a cab?
Sure. Yeah, I mean, eventually you need,
So sometime, for me, it's I kind of think about what I've been doing, and I need to branch out to other things.
Mm-hmm.
So
yeah, exactly.
Cool.
Yeah.
Is there anything else? I think we kind of covered your highlights. Is there anything that we didn't talk about or that you wanted to talk about more?
Well, I mean, we could talk about, so I do have a book coming out in the spring.
Oh, yes.
Yeah.
No, what's that going to be?
So as mentioned, it's a book on Italian wine.
Yes.
I co-authored it with an Italian, let's see, I don't know how you just put him into a box, but he's an Italian agronomist who started out in viticulture, moved on to winemaking, and then moved on to kind of the boardroom, if you will. So worked in for larger corporations in Italy that owned multiple estates all over the country, and so two really large ones over the course of the majority of his career. Within that time, he became a master of wine. And so you put all of that together, and you have this gentleman who's named Andrea Lenardi, and he's from Verona, the Veneto area, and he just has a really unique perspective on wine, particularly Italian wine. And so I had interviewed him a couple of times for different articles that I'd been writing. He's a very well-respected resource in Italy. And so, we were talking one day, and I was like, you keep saying this word that I know is not an Italian word, but it sounds interesting. You keep saying the word Italianity. Tell me about Italianity. What does that mean to you? And he's like, well, in Italian, we have a word Italianità, which means kind of the state of being Italian or the quality or what it means to be Italian.
Okay.
And so to me, there is a common thread among Italian wines, even though Barolo is different than Brunello di Montalcino and Etna Rosso, et cetera. When you blind taste wines from around the world, you are going to smell, let's say reds, just reds. You're going to smell and taste and try to figure out what you've got in front of you. And there's a lot of things that'll bring you to a place like, gosh, the ripeness on this and, the density of the grape and this structure, blah, blah, blah. I think this might be a New World Cabernet. Or, I think I might be in Bordeaux with this wine, or a Burgundy. But anyone who tastes wine for a long time has probably gotten Barolo, especially when we've got age involved.
Yes.
Barolo, Brunello, Etna Rosso, etc. Those can easily be confused for each other if you overthink it too much. There is a common thread in Italian wine that makes it feel like it's Italian first.
Yes.
To where you're saying to yourself, I'm not quite sure which region I'm in yet. I'm going to figure it out, but I know this wine is Italian. You don't do that with French wine.
You don't. Not really. Maybe a specific region of France, but not the country.
You're not going to say you're not going to like, oh, this is either Alsatian or Bordeaux, but I know it's French.
Yeah.
Yeah. Not going to happen.
I admit, there's little tricks.
Sure.
Little tricks in there. And if I'm sitting there and you're pouring the wine, even though it's and I see orange, I'm like, it's Italian. I mean, it could be anything, but there's certain, but especially if it doesn't smell like it's a snake of an age. Certain grapes, brown or orange quicker than others. And then, there's always, smell, sight, taste. Little things you're like, oh, this is Italian. Now I got to figure out where.
Right.
Yeah.
So the premise is based on that there is a commonality of Italian wines that has this Italianity, this identity of being Italian. But then we break it down beyond that. And so it's not an academic book, actually. It's a book of essays.
All right, cool.
And so we've done it based on what he has called the Italian red spine. So we've got Nebbiolo. We're calling it Alpine wine because you've kind of got like Schiava, Schiapettino.
Yeah.
But then you go down the boot of Italy and you've got Sangiovese, which really holds on in Tuscany, right? And then you've got Nerello Mescalese.
Yes.
And Etna Rosso. And so those are the kind of like the four pillars. But obviously, I mean, Italy has over 1,000 indigenous varieties, blah, blah, blah. So it's not like we're only talking about those things, but we're using those as our guide to format the book. We're having, we have essays where we talk about Angelo Gaia. We interviewed him and kind of got a feel for why his wines are global. What did he do to make wine known, Italian wine known in the rest of the world, right? We interviewed Piero Antinori and kind of like his background, which is just so rich with history. And, Andrea calls him like the godfather, il padrino of Italian wine, because he just is so always poised and put together, but he has such vision and grounding, he just has a great presence. But then we write essays on why we talk about Barolo as being like the global, like the king of Italian wines, right? The king of wines. But really the people every day on a Tuesday, right? They're drinking Dolcetto.
Yeah,
and
exactly,
so,
yes.
there's an essay on Dolcetto and why it's still an important grape for the Piedmont region. So it's meant to be something where if you know nothing about wine, this will be something where you definitely jump into it, but it's less academic and more about like, gosh, I've never had Dolcetto, but I kind of want to go to Piedmont and understand why they're drinking it on a Tuesday night.
Right.
And maybe I want to go to the store and buy some, figure out why that's so, foundational to the people there. It's meant to be a discussion of the culture of Italian wine. What is that culture?
Yeah.
And the people behind it. So less about the soils, less about the climate and the actual grapes and their structure. We talk a little bit about that, but it's more about the people and why it is the way that it is.
The vibe, if you will.
Yeah, the vibe.
Since everyone's using the word vibe now, I'm like, I've used the word for a long time, but all of a sudden it's like a cool thing to use.
Yeah.
So I have had that with Texas.
Okay.
Okay. And I wouldn't say it's hard for me to describe, but there's a rusticity that I use that's specific to Texas. It's not a negative thing. This is a positive thing. I also get rusticity from Spain, but it's more like just Rioja. Like I don't get rusticity from, you're not going to get it from Albarino, but I don't necessarily get it from different red areas in Spain. It's more about Rioja. But in our tasting group that we had for a long time, everyone, somebody usually brings all the wine. We rotate who was, but occasionally someone would bring a bonus wine.
Yeah.
And sometimes this was testable or not. And so one of the people who had worked at High Street for a while, she brought a bonus wine. And of course, the first question is this testable? He's just like, no, okay, fine. So they're all tasting it, and I taste it. I was like, this is Texas. This is Texas Cab. A first Cab, and it's Texas. And so everyone's giving their guess, and I was like, it's Cab, and it's Texas. And they all looked at me, it's like, how do you know? I said, because I know. Probably because I also drank way more Texas wine than the rest of them did.
Yeah.
I was like, it's just there's something about it. There's something I can't explain. There's a dirt rusticity, something about it.
Yeah.
That it's not every Texas wine, but there was something about that. And so the person who brought it was like, she's like, you're right, Mark. And I go, okay, now I'm going to call producer.
Oh.
Which, okay, I always say, you don't call producer these blind tasting things. I was like, it's Ben Calais, right? She's like, yeah. And it was, how did you know? I said, well, first of all, I've never had his wine. Then how did you know? Because she just left him. She used to work for him.
Oh, how funny.
So it was one of those things where she was proud.
Yeah.
In my head, I'm like, it's Sherlock Holmes at this point. It's like it's deductive tasting,
Yeah.
deductive reasoning. You brought a wine that you're very proud of. You probably,
Right.
because you worked there and you wanted to show it off.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I'd heard so much about Calais wine at that point.
Yeah.
And it was one of his cabs.
That's so fantastic.
And they all just looked at me.
Yeah.
And I tell people all the time, if I call producer, it's probably because I know more than just what's in the glass.
Yeah.
I know that you brought it, or something about you. I know something about it, or I know it's from the wine list at the restaurant, which I try never to look at the wine list because I don't ever want to know ahead of time.
Mm-hmm.
But I might know that you pulled it from here, and it's it's Australian Riesling. It's the only one that you carry, which honestly, in an Australian Riesling in a blind in San Antonio, Texas, or in Texas period, is going to be Puseyville, because it's the only testable that's pretty much widely distributed.
That you can get.
Yeah. Here.
Yeah.
There's a couple other ones you might be able to get, but that's pretty much it. I did it with Laura Atkinson. She tested me prior to an exam. And do you want to call producer? I'm like, sure, Laura. Well, I'm right, Australian. Yeah, okay, it's Puseyville. How do you know? Because blah, blah, blah. What about this one? It's blah, blah, blah. And that was just, I pulled a name out of my hat. It was just guess.
Yeah.
And then the third one, it was all white wines. The third one, it took me like the third time, but it was more like just process of elimination.
Right.
I knew where she bought it.
Right.
And not where I worked, but I knew where she bought it, and I just went process elimination of what they would probably have.
Yeah.
So it's truly the movies
Yeah.
that they call producer, or
Yeah.
Apple TV shows, Drops
Yeah.
of Jupiter, which new season's coming out.
Yeah, exactly.
So that's my I called the producer, but more about, yes, even I think Texas, and maybe some more about specific parts of Texas have a character to them that is not present anywhere else that I've experienced.
Yeah. And I think, that kind of typicity is bound to happen in any place where it's been there for more than 20 or 30 years. It's going to take on that kind of what Andrea calls like an epigenetic character. It's going to take on the energy of that place. So I believe that for Texas. That's what we discover in Italianity and what we discuss. Yeah. And that comes out in April.
Cool.
And so very excited.
That'll be probably around the time this video comes out.
Oh, perfect.
Yeah.
Go get one. You can order it on, let's see, in April it'll be, I think you can do it on Amazon at that time, but definitely Italianity.wine is where you can do pre-orders.
Cool. There'll be a link somewhere on everything.
Yeah.
I mean, and just kind of about the Texas thing. If you are a region or a state, in this case, as big as France, if you are getting that kind of characteristics, then you are getting to that next level. It's not you're trying to imitate another region.
Right.
You are coming into your own.
Yeah.
And I think it's very important that Texas continue to try to keep coming into their own instead of like replicate somebody else.
I agree 100%. I think it's a double-edged sword. Like I think absolutely there needs to be an identity that is of the place. I also think that there has to be something that especially as a buyer, like you need to be able to say like, okay, there's a typicity here.
Yes.
This is something that's recognizable. It is definitely taking on its own character and signature, but I need to be able to evaluate the quality level based on that typicity. So I think there's a little bit of both, but I absolutely feel like we've seen a lot from the Texas producers who are shining a light on quality in a really good way. Yeah.
And I also don't think it's a bad thing to compare a wine to another region, because as a buyer, not me as a buyer, but consumer, if they're exploring a region they've never explored before, or a grape variety they've never explored before, they want to know what it's going to be like.
Yeah, absolutely.
Right? You know,
Yeah.
Norella Mazgalese, I sell a beautiful one at work, and someone was asking for, like, I want Italian, but I want something light. I'm like, this right here. Like, why? Well, it's like a Pinot, but not really. It's beautiful, blah, blah, blah. And I do the whole, I mean, true sales, like, I don't lie to my customers. I don't make it sound better than it actually is. But,
Right.
you know, I highlight what I like about it and why I think there's a well-made wine. And I've had people come like, that wine was awesome. And I've done my job.
We got more where that came from.
Yeah, I've done my job, you know. So while I know a lot of people say, do we don't want to be compared? Well, you still need the comparison, because certain parts of the world are the standard, and now you need to see how do you fit. And you can still be equal, you're just different.
Yeah.
Cool.
Yeah.
Anything else?
I think that's it.
Cool.
I really enjoyed getting to talk with you. Yeah.
Awesome.
Yeah.
All right, well, folks, we're going to wrap this up. She's got to get ready for her next thing. She's got a whole hour or so. And people keep coming in here, and they're like looking at us like, we'll be done soon.
They've been fine.
They don't need the room till 3 o'clock too.
Okay.
But anyway, we're going to wrap everything up. As always, make sure you click like and subscribe, and we will see you next time.
Thank you so much.
Yeah.